Today was a good day. Today was a pretty decent day. Everything worked out, more or less uh, within the margin of error to our charting. And let's open up SPX. SPX is the weekly chart. So basically, this was the range that we were looking to work with SPX to the upside. Uh, where is right? No, not this. Is not the chart. Why is it showing this? Right to the bottom, 4460, whatever this number is, right about here, I guess. And so this was the bottom that we were looking for to the downside, 4464, and I think futures. Looking for futures. Why is everything looking different? What am I missing here? Oh, there. Now this makes more sense. Okay, this was pretty much this is what we were looking for. Futures to come back down, test this number, and bottom out here. So, and during the charting, we plotted this thing. It worked out to a T in our favor, and the implied top was 4420, right about here. So it came pretty close, around 4411, and to the bottom, we hit the bottom to a T. And let's open up this chart. So this is the chart I was watching today. I don't know why is this thing showing up as. So this is the week that we started, right? Today was Monday. Why is it showing up 4464? I have no idea. This should not be showing up as 4464. By the way, uh, any thoughts on why is this week showing up as here 4464? Give me a quick second, guys. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't really know. I think we're missing some stuff here. I can't really put my finger on it. What was I looking for? Well, let's go with it. Definitely was not looking for that as a top, but this was the bottom that we were looking for, 44 or 60, whatever not. We came pretty close to that, within 10 points range of that. 44.70 was the bottom today. Uh, I think we hit that bottom twice, and futures started to push back up. Once when I think the news about mask mandates came out. That's when I think we bottomed out first time. Second time again, the futures pushed down towards the end of the day, and last 5 minutes or something like that, futures tested that number and pushed back from that. I still am trying to figure out why that happened. I still have no idea. But otherwise, if we go by VIX, we can pretty much we can pretty much tell that it was running into resistance, and we were looking for a breather there. But the breather turned out to be an absolute ripper. And I think we might find the answer to 4420 on the daily chart. Right. Okay, so this makes much more sense now. So this is the top you're looking for, right about here. 44.16, and I think in the morning when we were charting it was 44, whatever this number is. So this was the implied top basically, and the bottom was right here. So this was the range that I was operating on. We came pretty close, within 10 points to the bottom and within 10 points to the top, maybe less than 10 points to the top. But that's the range I was looking for. And again, tomorrow we would be working within the same range. The top is 44.16, and the bottom is again around here, 44.66. The same range we would be working again. SPY had an interesting day today. Uh, oh boy. Oh man, allergies. SPY had a pretty interesting day today. Uh, yes. Okay. So according to the regular candles, so it was a green day indeed. But according to the average, according to the Heikinashi, this is still a red candle. So there's a good bit of chance that tomorrow we can, after this bump into 44.40 for SPY and for 44.16 for 44.16 to 44.20 for SPX. We might still try to push back down into this number 438.62, and if that can't hold, I don't see a reason for VIX to kind of do a turn around, do a 180 and run up. I don't see a reason for that to happen. And here, indices are pretty much oversold. So this kind of needs to push back into 440, somewhere around this number. And if 440 clears, then VIX, SPY will test 442. So there's a good bit of upside. Uh, so are we looking for what is happening after hours? I know it ran up close to $1.50 after hours, right here. And my exit was towards the end of the day. My exit was good, but again, I shorted one more time and got screwed. So I had to take a L on this trade. But this L was smaller than this win, so it still worked out in my favor. But uh, this still should not have happened. For 40.11 after hours, right about here. Oh, it did actually push into 440, 439.51. It might have continued to the upside. My data stops here at about 6 or 7. So my data stops here. So I think it might have pushed beyond that after hours continuing. So we went short right about here, and then carried this short all the way in there, somewhere around here, I think. Yeah. Once it crossed below 200, I went short, and it went all the way down, exited this trade right about here, and then took another trade to the downside. That was a mistake. It pumped for whatever reason, and it took almost 2 hours for this SPY to push down from this high to all the way to the close of the day. It took just about maybe 15 minutes or 20 minutes to clear up all those losses and push up. That was a weird day, but it was good. Sharp, but it was good. Bottom and bottom. I don't know what to make of this. Why did it bounce at this number, 44.70? I'm still trying to figure that one out. But in both the cases, we were able to figure out the bottom, though. And we still were able to figure this one out, the top here. Okay. Uh, And yeah, tomorrow I think for SPX we will operate in the same range. And here's the point that I was trying to make. This doji today was a doji according to the regular candles, and I think tomorrow this push to the upside will continue. We see indices getting oversold and ETFs also getting oversold. This is a good sign if you are into trading indices. SPX, this bottom would have been, for me at least, it would have been a good indication of a better bounce that it is basing off of a solid number somewhere here. But right now it's not. I don't see the ETF bouncing off of a number, a good enough number. I don't see nothing here. So that still leaves me to believe that we are still working within this range. And if it clears here, then we're looking for a push into 44.35. Of course, not in a straight line. There's still these numbers to be crossed. Tomorrow morning, it seems like I might not be able to chart. I think I am. In fact, I might not be able to trade as well. Looks like I'm coming down with fever or something. So let's see how that goes. And on the IXIC side of things, this is interesting. So getting oversold, getting oversold. This is happening, and most likely this right here, this might be the best performer of the day tomorrow to the upside, and most likely. So tomorrow, I think for the Qs 342 uh, is my is to the upside base case. Shouldn't call it a base case, but still, 342.20 is pretty much doable tomorrow. There's a doji, so expecting the markets to build on what happened today and push into this number 13,471. And I think if the SMI crosses over and gives us a clean signal, I think markets will try to push into this number, 13,581. So a good 200, 250 points tomorrow for NASDAQ. This looks pretty decent. And NASDAQ and SPY, sorry, Qs and SPY both closed positive today. So look out for that. The only caveat being that the month is still showing up as negative on average. On the regular candles, it is still showing up as positive, but on the Heikanashi candles, we are still tracking negative, and the daily is still pointing to the downside. So this is what I was watching today, and right about here is where it was supposed to. I think a couple of days back we were charting for this, right? For a hit of 100. We were looking for this. We got this today, and it tested that number twice, I think, and it started to push up. But here, the gap is still available for us to, this. Well, I don't know when this will come back down and hit its 100 moving average. But bear in mind, this is ETF. This necessarily doesn't really mean anything. The Qs ETF or whatever ETF that you're trading, this necessarily doesn't mean a lot. But ETF, rather the indices itself, this is how you want to trade. You want to look at the index and trade the ETF. And if you were looking at the index today, you would have figured out that it's going to go hit this number on the Q side of things, on Nasdaq side of things. and it bottomed out. So based on this, looking for a rally in tech tomorrow. Based on the doji and based on this is still a weekly in a weekly chart. So based on this, looking for a rally in tech tomorrow. Rut, well, rut is being rut right now. There's not much uh, upward pressure for rut as of today, but whenever the rally, uh, whenever rally comes down to rut, uh, then these are not the conditions where I want to be trading rut. These are not really the conditions that I want to be trading rut. So, but we will take whatever trades. Off late, I haven't been actually trading rut or TNA in rut in any fashion, either through IWM or through TNA. I have not been doing that. But I think I need to take a second look at this thing. Looking pretty decent here. Again, another doji for this index. Diamonds. Diamonds. 342 should have happened, but did not happen for diamonds. So uh, I kind of can figure these are bouncing off of certain levels based on the major tech heavy index, but these indices by themselves are not really doing much. Uh, so this should bottom out right here. So that's not happening. So gotta keep this keep this in mind that whenever the tech index cools down, it will have to come back down and test this number before it can actually push up meaningfully. Keep that in. Keep that at the back of your mind when you're kind of taking a trade on that. And other one that you want to be looking at is this guy. This guy was the deal of the day, right? And we were able to look, throughout the day. We were looking for this and push down and whatnot. And towards the end of the day, when I came back in, we saw this, and we were looking for a breather on VIX, but I was not expecting it to break its 50 and break its super trend and push down so violently. I just did not expect this to happen, but it is what it is. And this is where uh, things changed. And I think tomorrow there's still a good chance of after this ephemeral bounce that is coming up on VIX, there is a good bit of chance that it will push down into this number 2188, and most likely that will break and it will push into 200 right here, 2142. And this was the implied top, and there right about here. So this is the number that I'm watching for tomorrow, 2185, and push below there should push into 200. This should be the bounce spot, and there is a good bit of chance that it will keep continuing its push down. Not in a straight line though. It has left its five. So if either VIX needs to move up or the technicals need to come back down. So even if they come right in the middle to catch up, 2236 is pretty much sitting right there. So probably this should get resolved overnight. Not looking for VIX pretty much is. Let's pull up this chart for VIX. VIX 2122 is still elevated. Don't get me wrong, but this seems to be a new normal. The times we live in, this seems to be a new normal. Here is where VIX should come back down into the mean 2154, and a break below there should push a VIX into this number 2101. And if it breaks below there, we will reassess the situation. But right here should be some sort of ephemeral bounce, or VIX should try to put up a fight here and then a push into this number. So that's what I'm watching for tomorrow. Even if I'm on voice tomorrow, I might not be able to talk much, but this is what I'm watching for VIX tomorrow. Right here, right, it came down almost there. 2187. Let's see how it behaves there, and then 2130 on this chart. Yeah, on the one more. Sorry, where is that? This is the one. This is the one I've been watching all day, pretty much. TLT, and TLT is, see, TLT. This is where I want TLT to bottom out. The 200 on the monthly. Another 5 points to the downside, but this would be a good number to watch. Today it hit the 52 lows again. It made new 52 lows, TLT. So keep an eye on this. I think this when this starts to push up from here, I think markets will take a notice of this one. As of now, it's not doing much. It needs to kind of. I think it needs to at least bottom out somewhere around here. And once the TLT starts to push back up, markets will take a notice of this. Conversely, downside in a 10-year. Sounds like you need an early night. Yeah, looks like it. Looks like it. 10-year. 10-year is due for a breather, much needed breather. I think it's been running pretty hard, and I think it will take a breather. Let's see. Yeah, looks like it will need to come back into its 5. And should that break, it should come back into its 8. And average is starting to come back down. And Williams R is starting to come back down. So expecting this downward push to happen. Most likely in the overnight session, this should happen, and they should finish up this thing in the overnight session itself. But if it breaks below here, then most likely we'll look for a downside into 2.63. I don't believe that's going to happen, but still, the mean is sitting somewhere around here. That's the mean. Mean is sitting somewhere around here, around 2.55, 2.56. I don't know. I don't believe this is going to happen, given that Fed is super hawkish. But still, the technicals are technicals. At least needs to test its 5. At least needs to test its 8. At least use a wick to test that. Then it can push up again, just like what it did here. Just like what it did here. So expecting the same thing to happen on this one as well. One another notable development is this Bitcoin. So the tax season is pretty much done. The tax day is pretty much done. It hit this number to a T. I think yesterday night when we were charting, we were looking for a push into this number. And most likely in the overnight session, it will test this number again. And I'm looking for it to break above this number, and watch for this thing here. The MACD signal, and if it clears below up here, then we'll push into its 21. And if it starts to push into this number, then the mean will get hit. 42.6, somewhere around that. 40. Let's round that up at 42.5. So this should get hit. Most likely tomorrow this will happen. And if you see Bitcoin clearing above its 100-day here, which it will, but uh, better chances that it will clear its 100 moving average on the daily, and it will start pushing up into its daily 50. So watch for this 42 160. If it clears there, it will hit the mean. And as long as you have Bitcoin running, that means it will be a risk on environment back again. And again, going by what we know from seasonality, April is one of the April generally turns out to be a best stock for the months, or if not the best, it will turn out to be one of the best stocks for one of the best months for the stocks. So keep that in mind, and watch this space. Particularly, watch this space. If Bitcoin starts to run, that will indicate it's a risk on environment. Keep this in, keep this on your radar. Set alert or something when it clears this 100, when it clears this moving average, just like that. Alert, like that. Put that alert on there. Okay, so yeah. Uh, and another thing that you want to be watching is, what is that? And where is SMH? Yeah. Oh, so it's pulling up everything in single. Okay. So let's see. Let's put NVIDIA here and then AMD here. Then let's look for SMH. Even last night we were charting for this. We were looking for a move to the upside based on the daily. It looks like we got that move to the upside, and it's starting to curl back up here. The momentum is starting to curl back up to the upside. I think there will be a continued push towards, we were looking for a push into this number and then most likely into this number. The NVIDIA. So all of these ran today, and again, I forgot to trade, but this was the one that I was wanting to trade, LRCX. 14 points. In fact, actually, maybe 16 points or 17 points, 3%. This was a clear trade. This was a very clear trade. And I think as long as SMH starts to, keeps running, is this coming? So this was one of the better performing stocks, and AMD, you can still look for this upside on AMD if it already hasn't happened. We can look for this to get hit tomorrow, 96.10, something like that. If it clears here, then I think there's a good bit of chance that it's going to hit that 98.60 number. So look out for the space, and looks like Williams R is trying to get, push back up into the normal band. It was way out of that normal band. Looks like it needs to go back into that normal band. And if LRCX clears 473 here, then we can look for a push into 480. Should have been a easy trade today, but we charted this thing, but for whatever reason, it slipped out of my mind. I didn't get to it fast enough. I got to it towards the end of the day, but looks like we got one green bar here. I'm expecting another green bar at least. And this thing is pulled back down pretty hard. So expecting this to, this is our MACD. So looking for a MACD crossover again, and this time it should be a bullish signal because the MACD will cross over below the zero line. Look for that. Same thing will happen here, right about here. So look for that. Microsoft. This is one of the ones that and I think Microsoft will make a recovery into 284. This was a pretty solid start today as well. It did not actually go down as much as it should have. Recovered pretty decent. So I think there is still a good bit of upside for Microsoft. It has left its five. So even if it can come, right in the center here, 283 is what you can expect. And as more and more I'm watching these regular candles, I am trying to figure out the why behind the what. Generally, people say bear flag, bull flag, and why do they form? Now I think I'm trying to figure that one out. So there is this gap that exists between its core moving average and the price itself. So usually that situation is usually unsustainable. Right here, it left its gap and came right back into that number. So I think it will happen again, even if it happens right here to 83. That's still a good bit of upside, good $2 to the upside at least, and $3 to the upside. All right. What else? Amazon. I don't want to get involved in there. Uh, so I think this will speak a lot about the sentiment in tech tomorrow. If I were to go by what I'm seeing right here, I would go look for further downside on this one. But on the weekly side of things, this is different. On the weekly side of things, Netflix is a little different. It is oversold here. And this is continuing to be oversold. SMI is trying to come back down, and if there is even a little bit of good news, I think it will start to push up. Right? So that, and if there's a bit of bad news, and the market doesn't like what it sees or what it hears, and this is where it is going to go. Tomorrow, the first push, if it's bad news, the first push will come into this number 321, right about here. Uh, Earnings after hours. So yeah. So if it on any given bad news, 321 will happen for Netflix, no questions there. And if it's sustained continued negative sentiment, I think it will push into this number 265. Even if it doesn't have any negative sentiment, and perhaps after April, perhaps during the summer sometime, or during the early fall, it will see this number. Pretty sure about it. So what if there's a good bit of news? What will happen? This will shoot up into this number, 440. Why? Because first thing, not really looking into 417 or whatnot, but the reason that it might push up is because it has left its five right here on the monthly. And let's see what is weekly behaving like. Yeah, even on the weekly side of things, uh, this is where it will head into. if there is a bit of good news, or rather, if uh, if market perceives this to be a good news tomorrow, it will push up into this number 352 to the upside. If you're planning to play Netflix, 352 to the upside, and 321 to the downside. And that's the range that you want to play Netflix in. Tesla, well, Tesla was Tesla today. 75, this number right here. The upside, I think this number 1043 is still intact to the upside, but to the downside, I think it should test this number 976 again if on any bit of bad news. If it breaks here, then this is the number that I'm looking for. A break below 952 should give us a good push down into this number right here, 860. Uh, Break below here should do that trick. But right now, I'm not really pushing for, not looking forward to breaking this number, given Tesla, Elon, and all that euphoria around this name. For now, I'm not looking for that. So this is the range that it was right set into. Tomorrow, so if it continues to move up, this will be my base case to the upside, 10, 14, 10, 15. Not much, $10, but then if it pushes higher, then this is the number we are looking for, 1034. Look for a breather about here. And this will happen most likely if the markets rally into a 440, 44.20, and I think 44.32. If the markets push it into 44.32, this will happen, 1034 on Tesla. Again, to the downside, this should act as some sort of a solid resistance. It's been acting as resistance. It's been acting as support for a while now. So watch for that. If that breaks, then we're looking for a push into this number right here, 953. So watch out for that one. Does anybody have any stocks that they're watching? Swing using maximum amount of margin. Break it in. Good idea. Clubs also and throw it in the account. Good idea, Al. Very good idea. Where's Cat? Cat was supposed to come back down after that violent push to the upside. Yeah, it was a decent push to the upside. Good that I got out of my cat short. Thursday itself, I did not hold for hope. I would have been, absolutely crushed. 234 was the top. Wow. Not seeing anything terrible here. Monthly is still pointing up. Not seeing anything terrible. Everything looks really decent for CAT to continue. The only thing is that it has left at 5 on the weekly, getting a little bit overbought here, but nothing terrible. A pullback should be healthy right into this number 227.30. And if that breaks, we'll push into this number 223.50. This pullback would be healthy if it happens, if at all it happens. And Thursday, I was looking to short it somewhere around here. Got in with a little bit of loss, but got out with a little bit of loss. But still, this looks good. This looks good. Maybe a bit of a pullback into 224 or something like that. But after that, it's still looking good. Still looking good. Still looking good. Everything is looking good. Earnings are 28. Well, this is not an earnings play. This is not an earnings play. So not pretty sure how to play this now after this massive run up. Maybe if it comes back down, we'll look for an entry based on the 1 hour chart. And this is where I was trying to short it. Couldn't get a full, into 5 or into 8. It just, bounced off of this number right here. And today it kind of did the same thing, but this time it hit its 5, hit its 8, and most likely this is what needs to happen. It has left its mean here, and the mean is sitting somewhere around here, 226. So let's look for that number. By the time I think it will come back down here, the mean will push up at least by 50 cents. And this is a pretty good indicator that you want to be watching. The crossover happened here, and 1 bar, 2 bar, 3 bars, maybe a breather, then one more, at least two more purple bars after this. Note this thing right here on the 1 hour. The MACD indicator is starting to curl back down, so that will give you a good enough entry to push it down, at least to the mean. If the mean breaks, then you look for 224. That's for cat. Yeah, I gotta go do that. Opposite, yeah. Dot, get some rest. Yes, sir. It sounds like a mission commercial. What the heck, Nicole? You said next commercial. Series Zynga VX 50 200 scam. Nice. Looks like everything is a small ticket item. Mondelez would be something that will catch my eye. Haven't thought Zynga in a decade. decade. Classic daily RSI crossover to the downside. Yeah. Yeah. So Mondelez. There's the one right from DLZ. DLZ. All right, I got the right one. So this thing is pretty interesting here. I should have traded this thing, but this is very interesting. Bounced right off of this number. Damn, how do I keep missing this stuff, man? Well, anyway, so this thing is, not a high beta name, but this is very interesting simply because this would typically fall under your what do you call it, custom consumer staples, right? This is one of the defensive stocks against recession and stuff. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, and the Mondelez, and whoever makes those snacks and whatnot. So these stocks will do good during recession times. Let's see, where is the 50? Right here is a 200. Right here is a 50. It's hovering around that. And looks like we will have a down day tomorrow again into 200. It will run into 200. 6303. And then most likely look for a push. If it breaks, first hit will be a push. If it hits the second time, most likely look for a push into the mean. Not a high beta stock, so easily tradable. And if it pushes up into its 100, then it will hit 64.49, 64.50. Going to see how CCJ, UEG, GS to the downside on daily. GS was a ripper today. This thing, I
Oh,
think
it's to the
tomorrow it
upside.
will test this number.
It's
I think,
to the upside. I'm sorry. It was to the upside.
yep, GS will test this number tomorrow. This is where it has to go, GS, and most likely first hit will be a breather. Second hit will push into this number, 338. Pretty decent. I think this will be a pretty decent stock to trade tomorrow. Steph is not here, but yeah, if she was here, I think she would be trading this one. right into this number, and then first thing it will take a breather. Second hit, most likely it will push above this number. If you're looking to go on passive, look for it to sell some puts around this area, 329 to maybe 312 area. Look for to sell some puts and capture that premium. Or you can, yeah, about 313, this area you can sell some puts and capture that premium. Up into 333. Yeah, well, should have traded this thing. And to the downside, this is where it should bounce 328.95, something like that, and push back up into this number and clear this number and start to push into this number. Not looking for that to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow, most likely, this is the scenario. Push back into this number right here, the mean. If the mean breaks and pushes below, we look for a bounce around 324. So first, we look for a bounce here, 328 something. That breaks, we'll look for a bounce right about here, 324. I think there's a good bit of upside. Even on that bounce, it should push into this number right here, 334. If 334 clears, we are clean to push into 338. Ethereum increased. Nice. CCJ and UEC. Nice. KO good for selling put. Oh yeah. KO is anytime good for selling puts. So just give it a bit of room, and KO is one of the best stocks that you can actually trade. Very good, very solid company, and given we given the expectation of recession, this should be one of the ones that should hold up pretty decent. KO and the other one is your Pepsi, and what is the other one that makes a lot of food items or whatnot? What is that? PG? No, not PG. Unilever. That's another one. So you want to be keeping an eye on those raw stores. And for tomorrow, KO looks like it will pull back down into 64, break below 64. Will it break below 64? I don't believe so. But even if it does, then this is where it should bounce, 63.59, right about here. It should bounce somewhere around here. KO, yeah. KO looks like it is pretty decently overbought. So average is starting to come back down, and look for a hit of this number, 63.69. Then you can reassess the situation there, or if to push into 63. But looks like the markets will have an update tomorrow. So be mindful of that. Yeah, if you want to sell puts and capture the premium, this would the stock that you want to do. For now, I think you could sell calls and capture that premium as well. I guess oil to the upside. Oil, I don't want to chart oil simply because there are a lot of variables around it. For oil, it's been stuck here this whole day. If it breaks below, let's see, if it breaks below here, it's stuck right at the mean. Right at the mean. It's unable to pierce that. It will try again, I believe so. It will try to pierce the mean, and if it does, then we'll look for a push into 106. But for now, because of the SPR and all that, it is unable to push up. And I still think this will make a full cycle here. This has to make a full cycle. And to the downside, I think 102, and it has solid support around this area, 101 area. So I think if it comes down here, we could look for a bounce. Again, back up into its mean. If it clears the mean, we can look for a push into here, this number 106. And I think Chevron, Exxon, those will continue to perform, rather outperform the markets. So look for that. Apple is there. Apple at some point in time needs to come back down to this number, 161. Today would have been a good day for Apple to come back down and test that number, but Apple said F you and pushed right off of this number. And this is not because of Apple pushing off of an any moving average or something like that, but because Nasdaq hit its 100 and it pushed off of that number there. That's what happened with Apple and other major moving stocks, major stocks, 160, 360, whatever number this is. But this is not because of this. Apple did hit as an individual stock. It hit here and started to push up. But I think the biggest move was because of Nasdaq hitting that moving average and starting to push back up from there. So 165.28, if it clears here, then there's a clear shot at 167. Might not will not going up in a straight line, but still there's a very clear shot at 167, and the earnings are next week. So next week, yeah, next week, 10 days from today. To the downside, 163.15 is still intact. And if that breaks, then this is the downside, 161.21. But to the upside, I think there is upside to the market tomorrow, or at least to Apple. This will push up into 166.27. This is my base case to the upside, 166.27. If that clears, then we'll push into this number, 167.69. We will reconsider the facts here, how the market is behaving. And still to the downside, this is the number, 163.15. Watch for this number. If it breaks below there, not really pricing in 158 as of where things stand, but good bit of chance that will come back down to 161. That's how Apple should proceed. I'd love for USD to come back. Nice. Zoom to the downside. Yeah, yeah. The mask mandate, we should have, the moment they said mask mandates are off or whatnot, we should have shorted this thing. 126, right back down. Yeah, the moment they said, mask mandates were coming off, we should have shorted this thing. This would have been a clear short. I'm very ignorant in this regard. SLB, it has earnings on. Schlumberger is a good one. A very decent company, very great, very good management, everything, and oil pushing up. This thing should continue to be a winner. And for now, if you're looking for price action, there are other ones which are better than this. For example, Chevron, Exxon, any of those big ones should be a better choice than this one, Schlumberger. Let's see if we can have CP is another one. There's another one called Fang. This one is also a good one, a decent one. Uh, Facebook is looking particularly, vulnerable here. So don't want to short this thing simply because tech is still in that mode where they want to see what is happening with major tech companies like Netflix. But tomorrow would be a test of that, so don't want to take a short position on this. But if it had to bounce, this is where it will bounce. 207 will happen for Facebook. If not tomorrow, but this week at least, this needs to happen and it will bounce. If tomorrow it will bounce, that would be an awesome thing. That would be really awesome, actually, if it bounces here more itself. Then we can look for a push back into this number, the 50. If it bounces here, we could look for a push into its 50. If it clears at 50, then look for this number 215 right here. So watch for this one. A bounce off of this 207 number. $72. And this story is still intact. 172 story is still intact. Is still pointing down. All right, folks. Let's stop this here. I'll pick this up tomorrow again. If I am feeling good, I will see you again in the charting session. If not, let's have a speedy recovery. That was a good one, Ron.